Hey, this is a quick introduction to the laser cutter and engraver in the physics shop. Here's the machine, what it looks like. It's in the corner of the shop. And what we're going to do here is an introduction to what it can do. We'll do a quick little tour, and then I'll show you how to actually use it. And so to start off with a quick overview of what it can do, laser cutter and engraver. So for instance, this is just a sheet of paper that I've used to cut as a stencil. So I've cut out a stencil. I've used this to like spray paint a stencil, HBU physics, so that like the stools here in the shop, so that they don't go wandering. And then this, a little bit more complicated. This is a wooden box made out of thin wood. And so the laser cutter cut these slots in the side enough to make the wood flexible that then I was able to glue it into this little box. So this is just another example, but you could also take wood, just engrave a design onto it, for instance. So lots of uses for the laser cutter and engraver. And but let's go ahead and jump to a quick tour. And so let me switch over to this view. There is the door here, and you can see inside. This is the head, the optics that focuses the laser down. This is where you might put your object in your engraving. So this is the bed. There is off here on the right a knob where you can raise and lower the bed. So for instance, if you were engraving a thick piece of wood, you would have to lower the bed to keep the proper distance. The tip of the head here needs to be a specific distance away. And there is this on the key here, there is this little spacer, and you put this here and you raise and lower the bed so that it's exactly that distance away. But to continue the tour, in the back of the machine is the actual laser tube. So this glass tube is the laser. It is an infrared laser, which means you're not seeing the light that it produces. But the light comes out this end, hits a mirror, goes into the main chamber of the machine, comes in here, hits this mirror, goes here, hits another mirror, and then deflected down, and then there's a focusing lens there that focuses the laser light onto your target, where then it will burn its way through or engrave the surface. On the left side of the machine, you'll see a bucket of water that has a water pump in it, and that water pump through these tubes actually circulates water through the laser tube. And that cools the laser tube. The laser tube, without the water circulation, would overheat and be destroyed. So this is the water cooling system. There's also, well, the big fat tube pulls fumes out of the main chamber and sucks it up. It's part of the fume hood system for the building. And so that draws fumes, some depending on what you are engraving, especially if you do anything like plastics. The fumes can be really, really nasty. So you have to be careful with what's coming off of whatever it is you're burning, that you're not breathing that. So that's the purpose of the big tube, is to pull away the dangerous fumes. And then underneath here, let me move the camera. Underneath there, you'll see another little pump. That is an air pump. That's an air pump that then inside the chamber blows a constant stream of air right where the laser is. And that blows any smoke that's being created by the burning process, it gets the smoke quickly out of the way so that it's not blocking the laser light. Continuing the tour on the right side of the machine, there are the power switches down here. One is for the control system, and turning that on turns on the electronics, turns on everything other than the actual laser. And the power for the actual laser is this switch right here. Now there is a secondary laser switch right here, it's the key. So when I turn that, both of those have to be on in order for the laser to get any power. This is the USB connection to the laptop computer. That is where you're going to use a software called Lightburn to both design your design that you are cutting or engraving, and then also to send that job to the machine for it to execute. On the top of the machine, there is an emergency stop button. So if something's going horribly wrong, something catches fire that you're engraving, the machine is acting weird, and you need to stop it in a hurry, just punch that, and it will shut everything off. And then there's also the control keypad here, which is important. Let me just point out a few of the keys. So the left, right, up, down arrows move the laser head around. And then probably the other most important key that you need to know is this origin key. So when you press the origin key, then the current location of the laser becomes 0, 0 in the XY coordinate system. Z is the vertical, controlled by this knob, and that's manually, I have to crank that. But the X and Y 0, 0 right now is that point because I hit the origin button. So now let me show you the Lightburn software that is used to both create your design and then also to send it to the machine. And so this is the software, and you can see that I have already loaded in the HPU physics stencil to be cut out, and I'm going to make another one here for you as an example. But just to orient you to the program a little bit, I urge you to, you don't have to have the machine on to start Lightburn. You can just fire it up and then play with it. So if you've used other drawing programs, it has a lot of the same themes. You can draw a box. You can put text in, circles, polygons. You can do a free range thing. You can rescale. So I urge you to just play with the program as a drawing program. And but let me show you the specific features that are for the laser cutter and engraver. So I've loaded this design. It's just HPU physics in a font with an outline, and it's going to cut the outline. And the laser over here, it has ready as the status. Now you always want to check here because let's say the USB cord isn't plugged in for some reason. It'll say disconnected. So you want to make sure that the machine is actually connected to the laptop computer here. And now this is like the simplest possible job. It's just going to do a single layer, we say. It's just going to be cutting out these letters all with the same speed and the same power. Now so the speed here, the units are millimeters per second. So the laser is going to move at a speed of 100 millimeters per second, and it's going to do that at 15% of the maximum power. We're just cutting through a sheet of paper. It doesn't require a lot of power. And now you might, if you're doing something fancy, have multiple layers, that is multiple subparts of the job, where you might be engraving something on a thin piece of wood, but then cutting out the piece of wood with a much higher power and a slower speed. So you might have several layers, and But again, we're just doing the basics here. So once you have your design drawn, you have it, the settings. By the way, I forgot to say, on top of the machine, or near the machine somewhere, I have a sheet of paper. It's going to, right now it has some handwriting on it, but I'm going to periodically revise this with recommended settings for typical sorts of things you might want to do. So consult this sheet that will be posted on or near the machine. But let me go ahead and show you the process of making this stencil. And so I am going to move the laser head. I'm going to move the laser head kind of to the upper left of the machine. I'm going to hit the origin button. Now, if you notice the red dot, I'm not sure how well that is showing up in the camera view, but there is a red dot right under the laser. And that obviously is visible light. That is just a red laser diode that is used to mark the location where the infrared light is going to do the burn. So that just helps you see exactly where it is you're aiming. But I do want to stress that it is infrared light that is actually doing the cutting. So let me go ahead and start the engraving here, or the cut. Now I have the top open. Normally you wouldn't do this because you want to extract the fumes, but for the purposes of the video, I want you to see this. But of course, normally, I do want to stress, normally you would have the lid closed and you would watch through the glass if you want to watch. But let's take a look at our result. So here is a new stencil that I can use to spray paint HPU physics on things around here. And that is a very quick introduction to using the laser cutter and engraver.